Welcome everyone in today's session. My name is Orlin. I'm part of the SUSE team. We're going to talk about how you can build a digital sovereign cloud. Who knows what digital sovereign cloud is? Great, I don't know. So I hope we can discover that journey with you. That was built before SUSE was having some kind of idea what we want to do with the digital sovereignty, and actually everybody to have an idea what's digital sovereignty. So it's something in between my view and my company's view. I'm not here to sell you anything. It's just to share you how I think we can do that and how we can achieve through open source. So who am I? Orlin. I'm a CNCF ambassador, which means I run the local Bulgarian community. I organize, for example, KCD and so on and so forth. I still can hear that super strange noise of someone like digging in their back. I don't know if you can hear that, but I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, I'm a principal open source technology advocate at SUSE. As I said, I'm hardware and K3S project maintainer and community manager, but I really don't like the word manager. I'm more like a helper or a community taker. Who is using K3S or hardware? Anyone? Great. I want to speak with you later then. And I'm also semi-professional baker and pitmaster, so I do barbecue and I bake bread. If you want to talk bread, also. So, first of all, this is not a political talk in any way. If something politically inaccurate or wrong slips out of my mouth, I'm sorry about that. And it's also not a legal or regulation focused talk. I'll try to be as technical as possible. But due to the nature of the digital sovereignty, it's so intertwined with the legal and regulation stuff, it's easy to slip, right? I'll try to keep to technology as much as I can. Another thing, digital sovereignty is not for EU only. We're in the European Union. I'm from Bulgaria, I'm European, but that's not only valid for this region of the globe. It's valid for every country or organization around it. So it's for everyone. So let's talk about some of the issues that digital sovereignty addresses and what are they and how digital sovereignty can help to address them. So the first thing is data issue. By data issue is like the amount of data that your company is processing or your government is processing is collected and stored by most cases, if we talk about, for example, European Union, not in European Union. It's processed by different companies which are not necessarily following the laws of the European Union or, for example, Australian laws about data privacy. So how digital sovereignty can help with that is to ensure that the data is stored under your local laws or, for example, on your country or and is following some of your regulations, which is when you store that data somewhere else in some cloud provider, it's not always the case. That reduces the risk of, for example, surveillance and authorizing access to that data. The biggest one issue that I want to discuss today is the technology issue. And a lot of nations and organizations often rely on the foreign services and software and hardware providers. And by chance of, I don't know, economics and industrial work, that's in the US and China, right? And most of the software comes from the US, for example, and a lot of the hardware comes from China. And for many organizations and countries and governments, that can be an issue because they rely their entire hardware and software stack on foreign companies which are not under their control in a way how they serve them. So how digital sovereignty help with that? To promote domestic and regional alternatives. For example, in the European Union, we have the cloud initiatives like Gaia-X. That reduces the vulnerability and geopolitical tensions when we have issues, for example, as we have right now around the globe. Cloud infrastructure. What's the problem with the cloud infrastructure and when you consume something when I say cloud, I mean, for example, cloud native stuff, you consume it from the big cloud providers. You're not in control of that infrastructure. It's somewhere else's. Yeah, you think you control it, you manage it, but actually what's below the UI surface and your workloads, that's not in your control. And that's a problem for many organizations. So how digital sovereignty can help with that? To promote national and regional infrastructure. Government clouds, whatever that means, it should mean like a cloud that is provided for government needs and it's regulated by the local people. And to ensure that sensitive workloads stay within the secure compliant environments, which means you control what's in and out and how that operates. Supply chain security and vendor lock-in. We're an open source summit, so there are a few slides that are not necessarily useful for you folks, but we all know what's the benefit of open source, right? We don't have the, if we use proprietary software, we are inevitably locked in. So digital sovereignty can help by encouraging multi-vendor strategies and reducing operational risk by diversifying supply chains, which sounds very strange, but by having many vendors supplying you different or similar services and technologies, you can reduce your risk of having that vendor lock-in, or if someone decides to, I don't know, raise their prices of their services. Operational control, it's another issue that digital sovereignty addresses. It's related, again, it's a technical one. So you don't have control, again, of what tooling, where it's hosted, who has access to it, and so on. So again, digital sovereignty is not a technology issue, it's a solution is itself. It's a guidelines how you can solve that. So you have to regain full control of your data flow, access permissions, and promote on-prem and sovereign clouds. So there are some other issues that digital sovereignty addresses, is the economics. For example, as such, when we pay the huge bills to the big providers, we're pouring out money from our own organizations and governments to someone else's. The autonomy, whenever you decide to have your entire infrastructure managed by someone else, you lose autonomy right away. And the cultural and politic, it was on the edge of conspiracy theorists, but social platforms, for example, which are a good example of non-sovereign platforms, they can provide some spread of misinformation or propaganda even. So that's an issue that digital sovereignty tries to address. Those are some of the digital sovereignty drivers that I think are one of the most significant in the last decade, is the Edward Snowden revelations, the US Cloud Act, which if you don't know, they aim to give them access to your data if you run on their own premise. COVID-19 and TikTok ban, which was introduced in the US for spreading misinformation and propaganda. And funny one, it's not exactly funny for me and funny, I suppose, for everyone else of us. Last year on Friday, July 19, a lot of companies woke up and they were having blue screen of death because of the CrowdStrike. So it's super easy to see how easily, because of one company, one push of patch, you can lose your business for a day or maybe more. Not to mention the geopolitical and commercial motives, which are due to what's happening right now in the world. People can use and intertwine the business with politics, and that's not good. So with the digital sovereignty, we try to address all that to be free from foreign pressure. So let's have answer the questions like, what's digital sovereignty? And that's the formal, super long definition, which I'm not going to read, but it's just informational there. Digital sovereignty is the freedom of you how to run your applications, where to run them, how to build them, how to operate them, to be on-prem or in some kind of multi-cloud, some hybrid infrastructure, and you to regain all that control of your infrastructure and not to rely on someone else's to take that control of you and to take the choice of you how to run that. So let's talk about open source and digital sovereignty. We all know proprietary versus open source. Proprietary, as I said, blue screen of that for many machines at the same time. The proprietary software, I don't see a need to explain it, but they can obfuscate algorithms, bugs, whatever. Compared to the open source, that's just not possible, right? With the transparency by sharing the code and all the information and all the processes, how that source code and that those projects are run and managed, all that just vanished as a problem. Just an example, if we switch to open source desktop productivity, for example, so desktops, we can avoid that huge issue from last year. And another thing, in terms of the government, sharing documentation, sharing information, and using a common standards, it's a huge stuff. For us, it's, as a techie persons, that's not an issue, but for bureaucracy people from government, how they exchange data is still an issue, how they use document formats and how they write all that. So adopting open source in that regard will be a huge step for everyone. So why open source matters for digital sovereignty? Again, transparency, no vendor lock-in, security, and for me, the last one, that's why I have the confetti over there, is the community-driven innovation. Me, as a community person, I share the passion of working with the community and contributing and doing stuff with other people. So better and more secure software for everyone, right? My CNCF ambassadorship speaks to me right now. Who have seen the landscape from CNCF and who knows how ugly it is? Good. Okay, I'm going to be prompt with you. It doesn't look nice, but if you want to find your, if you have an issue with specific problem, or you need to find a project that you need to address, for example, compliance or security or runtime or storage, you can navigate to the landscape, look through all the projects. Those are not only CNCF projects, those are also projects which are part of the ecosystem, and you can find your solution for your particular issue, problem, or to dig for new projects to play around with. I'm not going to read that, but the United Nations even have open source principles, which are something that they introduced, I think, last year, and many companies joined, and they are trying to drive this through and to be more accessible for governments and organizations, so they can adapt all that and digital sovereignty to become kind of default mode, how they drive their infrastructure by applying these kind of principles. Of course, all that sounds great. Open source is great, but there are challenges. The challenges are many, but those are, like, for me, the most important ones. The skill gap, it's a huge one. If you want to run a digital sovereignty in some way or form or infrastructure, one of the requirements is to have a local people to run it, to operate it, and that need of local expertise can be challenging. So you have to grow local talents and to maintain and develop your infrastructure. As Daniel said in the morning, funding and sustainability of open source projects is something that is still ongoing, even after so many years of open source culture and people working with the open source. Many open source projects are understaffed, or their maintainers working in their free time to support the project. Perception and trust, it's a big issue still with many companies and many organizations, that they believe that the proprietary software is still the way to go. So we, as open source advocates, we should fight that. That's my day-to-day job, to speak with some people from universities. In my country, I'm from Bulgaria. In my countries, open source software is not taught at university or schools. I don't know how it's in your countries, but I have that in my personal agenda to speak with students to join, for example, the Linux Foundation mentorship program or any other of the foundation mentorship programs, to be exposed to open source and to breathe in that ecosystem. And the last, but compliance and governance, whatever we do and we build on top of open source, we always have to be sure we're aligned with open source license, and licenses, and we don't crash with it, and we don't do something that it's against us. Whew. I want to talk about now the technology stack of the concepts around sovereign cloud. That's a little bit of opinionated by me view how things should be done, and a little bit by SUSE. So it's something in between. First of all, to have something that is sovereign and independent should be hybrid and multi in any possible way. So to be able to maintain the control and to have like a choice of different sources for different stuff, we have to embrace the hybrid and multi-cloud mindset. So on-prem solutions, multi-cloud, having public sovereign clouds within the region. AWS announced that, I think, a few weeks ago. They're going to run sovereign cloud in Europe, operated by Europeans on European soil, for example. So that's a good step forward. Next thing, it's virtualization. So many of us, we use virtualization. Many of us have used VMware software in the past, maybe still using it. I'm ex-VMware also, so I don't speak about VMware anymore in terms of products, but we have to find a way to be independent from providers. So in my case, I'm kind of affiliated to the Harvester. Anybody knows what the Harvester is? Good. It's a hyperscaler. It's a hypervisor. It's an open source project supported, of course, by SUSE. But you can have, for example, KubeVirt with Kubernetes to run your virtual machines. Integrates well with some other stuff. But there are plenty of other choices, as I've listed: OpenStack, Proxmox, Zen Project, Kimchi, you name it. So you can have your servers, you can run this kind of open source supervises and to run your virtual machines. Next thing, open source and virtual machines. We're on the conference for this stuff, so we have to run some kind of Linux, right? Any Linux, whatever you want to run it. But be able to manage it and support it. So I'm, again, a little bit biased, and I've added the OUNI project, which is it's a fork from Spacewalk. If you folks can recall, that was a Red Hat project from the past. They ditched it, but that's a live and breathing project to have a multi-Linux environment and support. So if you still taking care of your virtual machines, not as a kettle, but as a pets, so you still patch them, you reconcile them, and whatever, you can take a look at that project. You can take a look at Foreman from Red Hat again, and Ansible for configuration management. But again, to have that choice for operating systems, it's essential for your flexibility to have digital sovereignty. Orchestration, container. I'm coming from the cloud native world, so Kubernetes, of course, all the way, whatever. If you don't need it, still you need it. But I'm going to talk about, I'm going to sprinkle that infrastructure with some Kubernetes, and in particular K3s. K3s, it's a CNCF project, sorry, in the sandbox status at the moment. I'm taking care of the community for K3s, so if someone of you wants to talk with me about K3s, I'll be at the SUSE booth later. Please come and chat with me. There are options like Kamaji is for managing multiple clusters. Rancher as well, Karamada, Gardner from SAP also is doing this. OKD, which is the open source or the upstream for OpenShift. All these are achieving more or less similar goal to manage your Kubernetes clusters and your workloads. I've added Harbor as well because, first of all, I'm a maintainer, so I have to put my projects in. But also, when you run containers applications, you have to be able to store your images somewhere. And again, if you want to be digitally sovereign, if you rely on Docker Hub or GitHub registry, maybe it's not enough. So you can run Harbor on-prem or in the cloud and to store your OCI artifacts or container images. If you want to talk about Harbor, I'm downstairs. Storage. Still, you have many. People can see the line of all the SUSE projects. Yeah, but Longhorn, it's a cloud-native storage solution. It's a CNCF project. It's not a SUSE project anymore. It's a CNCF project, but you have Ceph, Minio, OpenEBS, many others. The thing is, you have to run your storage so you can know where your data is. Networking. That's inevitably comes in the cloud native picture because you have to connect all that. You have to ensure you have the proper network rules and everything. With the K3s, we ship Flano by default, but you can have Cilium. You can use WireGuard for VPNing and stuff like this. And of course, the governance, compliance, and policy enforcement. Still, you have plenty of choices. If you open the landscape, there are, I don't know, maybe 20 projects around this stuff. I've been a long-time user of OPA. Orlin is another option, part of the CNCF. It's a sandbox. OPA is a graduated project. Kyverno, and you can use Falco, for example, to have a runtime security of your application. So if you're not sure, the Orlin and OPA and Kyverno are doing the verification, for example, where your images are coming from, if they are signed, if they're compliant with your policy of the source. Falco on the other side, you can run Falco to have this kind of runtime security auditing of all your applications, which adds a little bit over of your stack. But if you don't sure what you're running, you have to run it to make sure that you whatever you run is secure enough, or you can stop it in the right time. And of course, all that without monitoring and observability won't be a cloud-native solution. So you can implement open telemetry for your application, and you can have Prometheus, Grafana, Fluentd to have your observability stack, to Prometheus to collect the metrics, Grafana to visualize them, and Alert Manager to create some alerts if you have something that is not all right, Fluentd to manage your logs. And Jaeger is used to, if you instrument your application, you can use Jaeger to trace your workflow between your microservices. All right, so I wanted to do a demo, but to do a digital sovereignty demo is pretty much impossible because it's so complex and so not defined yet. But I want to do this. I'm going to show you my setup of digital sovereignty, which is I have two NUCs, this little box at home. One is running Harvester, the other one is running Proxmox, and I have two VMs on each one of them. I'll show you in a minute. I run OpenSUSE, and I have a Kubernetes cluster with K3s on top. I have Longhorn, I have Flano, and I have all the other stuff, including up to the top where I have Nextcloud. Nextcloud, for those of you who are not aware what Nextcloud is an object storage service that you can run on-prem. A lot of companies in Europe are using Nextcloud to do their shared storage, like Google Drive or what was that from Microsoft? Yeah, something. So with that, I'm just gonna show you super quick. So can you see? Everybody can see that? So I have two nodes, one the Proxmox and one the Harvester. So two different hypervisors, and I really would like to show you that I'm not lying to you. Here's the Proxmox one, the K3s Note 1. Is it big enough? I'm not sure. And the other one is in Harvester. I'm doing some SSH tunneling to show you that, but I have two virtual machines on two different NUCs, and they're in a cluster. So they share networking, And I have plenty of stuff running over here. Sorry. AOP is for list pods. It's a model of my alliance, so it's just like a cube Koto. Come on, people. Get pods. Sorry. Namespaces, but it's without colors. So I've created with the cube color. You can run stuff like this to have all the pods on the cluster. So I have that's kind of ugly. Yeah, can I do this? No. It's still, but it's kind of it's wrapping up. But you can see I have the Prometheus, the Grafana. I have the Nextcloud instance over here. Anyone who's not acquainted with Kubernetes and what I'm talking about. Whoa, all right, good. So I have the Longhorn cluster, and for example, that would be easier. Longhorn, the Nextcloud, and the Prometheus community stack. So what I'm gonna do, I have to do a picture. So I'm gonna take a picture. Come on, I'm gonna do like this. And I'm gonna upload that. I have on my phone, I have the Nextcloud application. So I'm gonna open it, the web interface over here. That's the default one, nothing special. Picture of me late night on the airport trying to fix my demo for today. It was like, I was flying from Bulgaria in the evening at 11 o'clock. But I'm gonna upload that picture that I just took. The idea is that you can deploy all that. It's out there, it's available, so you can create your digital infrastructure sovereign from the big providers, and to have that control of operations back to you. So here's our picture for today. And yeah, it's a super dummy demo, I know. The thing is, if you have the knowledge and if you have the people to operate all that, you can achieve digital sovereignty relatively easy and relatively cheap. The other thing that I wanted to show you from the stack is that you can run super easily Prometheus, for example, and you can collect data about the, if you have instrumented your application, in this case, the Nextcloud, you can instrument it to get, for example, if it's up or down or whatever. And through Grafana, I've created a very simple dashboard. So you can see Grafana is up, total users 1, and some usage around your application. So depends how you instrument your application, you can operate it. Okay. So with that call for action, for many of you, you're maybe in engineering roles, you're C-levels, I don't know, but that's not the point. Adopt open source standards and open source first, which can allow you and give you that opportunity to achieve sovereign solutions by trusting the bigger community and maintainers. And open source is not only about maintainers, there are also like companies like SUSE, Red Hat, who are also contributing back. And so you can leverage all that knowledge from everyone. Localize and decentralize, it's kind of weird saying, but yeah, localize by using local resources, local people, and decentralize by using more broader solutions by more companies, more people, more to have more choice, so you're not locked in. And please invest in people and collaboration. Allow your people to contribute back to open source. That will bring better software for everyone. And 2 more things. If you want to start your cloud native journey, if you haven't yet, I'm one of the Rancher Academy instructors. You can join us. It's a totally free open source. I'll hold that for a second. We have classes around K3s, about Kubernetes. I'm going to work on Harvester in the next few months. So we put all that out there for free, 100% open source, no products, no buy nothing. And with that, let's get in touch. You can find me everywhere as Orlin Vasilev. If you want to help me to deliver that talk maybe next time better, I don't know, please provide some feedback. So yeah, I think we have some time for questions, or if not, I can see you downstairs on the SUSE booth. Thank you.